views and opinions expressed on the State of the Nation are those of the host and staff and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any format in which this broadcast is heard or viewed. Any content provided by our bloggers or authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual or anyone or anything. At the State of the Nation we do not condone violence of any nature to any individual, personal property or governmental body. We support the men and women in blue and stand behind our military and all oath takers.
Welcome everyone to State of the Nation. We are interviewing our first official guest, Justin Gleason. A little bit about Justin Gleason and I. We go back several years since he was a young man, and he's a very influential young man. He's got a lot of following going on with a podcast that he started, and he actually interviewed us. He interviewed State of the Nation, and we got a very good response from that. So, Justin, first off, welcome to State of the Nation. Tell us just a little bit about yourself and whatever you feel comfortable with, let us know.
Hello, State of the Nation, and greetings to my very good friend, Brother Danny Torres. This is an absolute delight to be with you all here on the show. This is one of my favorites. I'm a subscriber, a regular watcher. I'm a watcher who watches The Watchmen. That's right. Danny Torres is not the village idiot. He is the Watchman. All right.
There you go.
Man, Brother Danny, I am doing great. We've had a great day. I'm enjoying life, enjoying my family, enjoying our church, enjoying the podcast, and most importantly, just enjoying the time I've been having with God and in His Word. But I am a podcast host, the Spirit Signal with Justin Gleason podcast, available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Truth Radio, iHeartRadio, Audible, and many, many more. For all the listeners, you can follow me on social media at Justin C. Gleason on Facebook pages, Instagram, and Twitter. I serve as the associate pastor of the Life Church of Kansas City, and I have been there for 16 years now. Been on staff for 16 years. Started out as youth pastor. I'm now the associate pastor, and we have a phenomenal church. I love serving our church. Stan Gleason, my father, is our pastor, and God has helped us get through this pandemic. We're having revival, and we're starting to see numbers come back up that we had before COVID-19. So that is just very, very encouraging. We're thankful for that. I'm also a guest speaker with the United Pentecostal Church. I love coming to churches and teaching and preaching the word of the Lord. And most importantly, just having powerful altar calls. That's what we really specialize in. And I love making connections with pastors and their staff, their teams. And it's just great to travel here and there in America throughout the year and see what God is doing in other phenomenal churches across our fellowship. I reside here in the Kansas City, Missouri area. I love Kansas City barbecue. Kansas City barbecue is wonderful. It's relaxing. It's more relaxing than a massage. That's how great it is.
Come on now.
And we go for the Chiefs. We go for the Royals as well. Kansas City's a great team. Yeah, a great place. Great sports teams, great food, and just a great culture. We love Kansas City. And then my family is very dear to me. I have a wonderful wife that the Lord gave me and two beautiful children that the Lord has blessed us with. So, yeah, life's good.
That's awesome. Plus, we got some pretty
good... I love coffee.
You love coffee? And we got some pretty good fishing. I seen some pictures of you, was it last week or the week before last? Tell us about that big old bill. Yeah.
Oh yeah, spoonbill. It's a beautiful fish, and it's a really interesting fish. I wouldn't quite put it in the category of river monsters, but they get massive. The one I caught was about 50 pounds, and
Wow.
they are just a really neat fish. You don't catch them through lures. You catch them through snagging. So that's a totally different approach to fishing, and it's a seasonal fish. The season starts at the beginning of about the middle of March and goes to the middle of May. And we went fishing down on the Osage River. My host there, really my guide there, was David Grooms and his dad Daryl Grooms. Shout out to the Grooms. Shout
Yeah.
out to the Grooms, phenomenal fishermen. So it was down on the Osage River, just beautiful territory down there here in the heartland in the state of Missouri. And the current was moving really fast. I mean, super fast. So it's tough to snag, and when the water is going that quick, it was real cold too. The water was really cold, but we managed, even though we lost quite a bit of gear that day, we managed to pull in some nice fish, and we saved a guy's life, believe it
Oh,
or not.
wow.
Yeah, we had to pull a guy out of the water. Yeah, he was out snagging by himself, which you probably shouldn't do.
No.
Snagging is not it's not a solidarity enjoyment. It takes a team to snag. Somebody's got to be driving, somebody's got to be tying the hooks, and somebody's got to be snagging at least. You need probably 2 or 3 guys doing that. But a guy was out there fishing all by himself in his boat, and he got snagged up on a rock or something and was trying to get his setup. And with the current going one way, his anchor holding it the other way, the boat just turned over. And he was about 100, 200 yards away from us. We sped up and pulled him up out of the water. And
Wow.
his boat survived. His boat just floated upside down for about 5 miles down the river. We just stayed with it while he stayed in the boat until the water patrol came. So yeah, that was a phenomenal experience. It was great.
Wow. Well, that's good. Well, he was blessed that you were there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I wish I could say he acted blessed. He came up out of that water cussing.
I can imagine. Well,
Yeah. So yeah.
I'm sure
But
you
we got to
appropriately.
pray with him and talk to him, and saved his life. So
That's good. Now, uh, is that like a white flake fish? Is it a white fish when you cut it?
yes, yes, it's not like white clear meat like you get crappies and bluegill and catfish. It's actually more red color.
Okay,
It's more, a
so
little
it's
more
a
red color.
tends to be a
It's a
red
little
color.
more spongy, a thicker fish, but it's delicious. David Grooms cleaned the fish for me. I got it in my freezer right now. Beautiful fish. The
So do you
spoonbill has a big old long nose.
right? Do you peel it like you peel a catfish?
No, fillet it.
You
I mean,
flay
you
it out? Okay.
could, pull the skin, yeah, if you wanted to. I've never seen them do that. It's always
Flay it out.
just filleted it like you would any other fish, but it's a little more complicated than that. It's a massive fish, and they have they have cartilage in them, so it's a little bit of a different approach. But yeah, it's great meat.
Awesome.
Great meat, real fun to catch.
Well,
Difficult to catch.
yes. So that's some of the things you can encounter in the Missouri area if you're ever inclined to visit. So Justin, let's just jump straight into this. Basically, I want to talk about some podcasting, and we want to introduce people to podcasting. And the reason is during this pandemic, podcasting has exploded, and podcasting
Yes.
is becoming one of the leading arenas for people to get their information. As you know, people are turning off the mainstream news, and they're listening to podcasts. They're listening to citizen journalists, and that's the moniker that's been given to a lot of podcasters and video broadcasters like ourselves. So give us a little bit about how you got into podcasting. Let us know how many shows you got out there. I know you've got quite a many shows out there. Just tell us a little bit about that. How'd you get into it?
Yeah, our current library has 58, 50, maybe 50, I think 59, 58, 59
Wow.
episodes on it. And they range from 40 minutes to about 60 minutes. Most of them, some a little less, some a little more, but mostly 40 to 60 minutes. So we built quite a bit of a library for people to enjoy and learn from. I got into podcasting. My podcast, Spirit Signal with Justin Gleason, began officially January 2020. And I got into it at a time when I thought, what am I doing? This isn't going to work. Why am I doing this? Why? But I couldn't have picked a better time with the pandemic that came up and just all the things that the Lord has been able to do through this type of media. But it began really when I was a kid. I had a radio with a tape player on it, and I loved getting blank tapes wherever I could find them and recording myself. I just would record myself talking, and most of the time it was silly stuff, imitating people and telling dumb stories. But what was something was anytime I record myself, it always ended with something spiritual. I couldn't help myself. I would just start preaching on the tape. Nobody ever got to hear those tapes. It was just me. I just loved to record myself and, play it back. Well, then sometimes, during sleepovers, me and my friends, we'd start recording. I introduced them to record, and we'd all record, and it would just be a silly story or something acted out and just talk. And then it would end up being serious. So that's really where it began. And then in Bible college, I recorded pretty much 2 full-length albums doing prank calls, if you can believe that.
I
So
can believe it.
it's always been a part of me to, record my voice. Record my voice. I don't sing much. Just if somebody knows really what they're doing, another tenor is singing, I can sing with them, but I can't do solos very well. But all the men in my family sing very well. As a matter of fact, the name Gleason, Gley, is an old English word for a male vocalist. Well, I didn't inherit a singing male vocalist, but a talking male vocalist. It's one of the compliments I get from my audience is my voice is just pleasant, very nice to listen to. So we thank God for that. But my podcast, Spirit Signal, really began in 2018. From 2011 to 2018, I took all my notes down with an iPad, just did it digitally. Well, in 2018, I thought I'm going to go back to a handwritten journal. I'm just going to try it out just to change things up. I'll probably go back to digital, but just for a while, a season. Let's just get it down with a pen and paper. And so I started writing, and what was neat was I was starting to get ideas from the Lord, and I was writing them down in that book. And I remember looking at those ideas, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is good stuff. It's unusual, but I would never bring this to the pulpit. What are these ideas for? And I mean, in that book, one of the first things I wrote down was, "You're here to listen. I'm here to talk," and that became, one of the main mottos of our podcast. And then right after that was podcasting is the future. And so it started filling up with all of these little buzzwords and these sayings, and I had no idea what they were, but I've just learned now, if you think it's good, you should write it down because you're going to forget it. Think it, write it down. That's really how you create a great web of content, not only for a citizen journalist, but a preacher and teacher.
That's correct.
Of the word of the Lord. For authors, it's good to write down. It's good to project your idea down on some sort of paper or a digital copy. So, the pages just started filling up with great stuff. And I thought, what am I going to do with this? And around the holidays, 2018, it hit me. Oh my goodness, this is for a podcast. This has got to be for a podcast. I hadn't done any recording really of myself since Bible college. Now I've always been on podcast. Our church is on podcast, the Life Church of Kansas City. I've always been on there, but that's preaching. That's pulpit. Podcasting is not pulpit. Podcasting takes on a different persona, although there are guys out there that, are, got a little studio set up in their laundry room, and they're preaching and yelling in that microphone. And I didn't want to do that. I like podcasting is a different approach. It's more conversational and talking and say it in a way that's different than the pulpit, and vice versa. I don't do the podcast thing in the pulpit. You probably lose the audience, and I don't think people want preaching on their podcast. They want podcasting. But anyway, so I knew I needed to do a podcast, but I've started so many things in my life and just gave up because I didn't research it, didn't ponder it, didn't think it, didn't let it soak in me. So all through 2019, I prayed about a podcast. I just would talk to the Lord about it. And I kept on making notes, and I started studying it, how to do it, how to really get it going. And in the summer of 2019, I was ready to launch something, but I just got to check in my spirit. And I just thought, why can't I go forward with this? And I began to doubt it, really began to doubt it. And I was really going to give up on it. I was really not going to do it. But Bishop Chuck Carr, he is our district secretary. He called me and he said, Brother Gleason, I am on vacation, but the Lord has given me a spiritual dream of you, and I got to share it with you. He said, I've been around this long enough. If God gives you a dream, you do not just forget about it. You call it, and you call whoever and tell who the dream is for. So he did. And Brother Carr said that I saw you, Justin, in this dream holding he said it looked like a radio. But it was a radio unlike I have ever seen. He said it was a very high-tech device. And he said with that radio, you could receive a signal from anywhere in the universe. He said not only that, but you could send a signal anywhere in the universe. And he said a man came up behind me. He said I could not see the man. He said a man came up behind me and spoke to me and said, I have given Justin Gleason insight far beyond his years, far beyond, what is considered normal, and spoke some other things to Brother Carr that told me some personal things. But after that dream, that was the confirmation I needed. That's what I needed. That device was a podcast, and I'm saying things that I don't think any other Pentecostal podcasters out there talking about. And I remember Brother Kleindens left us a review on Apple Podcast. He said, Justin Gleason is uniquely insightful. So everything that dream, well, not everything, but a lot of that, what happened in that dream has come to pass. We started a podcast, and it's gone all throughout the world. And God speaks to me. He speaks to me, sometimes waking me up very early in the morning with word for the podcast audience. So 2019, we just continued to write. We continued to research. We held on close to that prophetic word. And then 2020, we launched Spirit Signal with Justin Gleason.
That's exciting. That and it's true. You do have an insight on certain topics and things that are beyond your years. I know you like to study the Rosh. We can talk about that later. The word between the word, and I'll let you explain what that means later. But and your family does come from a very musically inclined voice and instrument. Your family is one that goes way back. And I've been honored to sing with your father and your aunts, and we've had a good time. Your father and I have literally traveled around the world, and we've sang for kings.
Right.
Yeah, we've sang for a lot of folks, and I can remember one time there was a group of us. We was held over in an airport, and you know how some of those holding areas in the airports are small, and all of a sudden your dad said, wow, I like the way this sounds, and he just started singing a song, and we all started singing. It was great. And so yes, your family is very musically inclined, and you do have a good voice. Don't sell yourself short.
Wow.
So let's talk about some of the obstacles, some of the obstacles that you have encountered as a upcoming podcaster? You know, what if I was to think about becoming a podcaster, because there's going to be people that are going to watch this that have it in their heart, that they're probably afraid, but yet they want to do something. So talk to us to a little bit about your obstacles that you've encountered and what to expect.
Yes. Well, the obstacles that I have faced, really not a lot of technical stuff. I researched it off and on for a year, and that's probably why I haven't had a lot of obstacles. I just, studied and learned just from other media sources, and then I've listened to so many podcasts. For the last 10 years, I listen to podcasts more than I watch media, like
Wow.
YouTube. Yeah, I have stuff in my ear all the time. Podcast. I quit listening to radio. I listen to some radio hosts that are on podcasts, but I just quit listening to radio. It was all the pod. But I would say with content, a problem that I sometimes run into is the only thing in not knowing what to say is having 100 different things to say and not knowing which one to say. So sometimes I run into that. I don't know what to say. And I've tried to, my theme is God, Bible, and church. And that was another thing I wrote down in the book. This podcast would be about God, Bible, and church. That's a major motto that we have. God, Bible, and church is the threefold cord of personal spirituality.
Correct.
But so I read a lot of news. I like politics, but I want to be sure that everything fits into God, Bible, and church. And I don't want to stretch it, whatever. It's my calling is God, Bible, and church. So sometimes just knowing what to say, what's appropriate. Is this what the audience needs to hear right now? I'm very strategic in what I say and what I do. I sometimes run it because I record as to this day, since the beginning till now, I record in my church office, and just take a little extra time just to record there in the church office. But we got a busy church. Sometimes there is a lot of outside noise. I think one episode in the beginning, you could hear one of our cleaning ladies, her little son running around, and she had to get him, but thankfully with technology, noise gate and stuff, we were able to cut that out. But yeah, sometimes people will be having a conversation run out the door. And I record pretty early in the morning on Friday, but sometimes just people are there. And then sometimes I get interruptions. I keep my phone on. Definitely for my family, for my pastor. Anything else, sometimes I'll press stop and take it. But it's nothing really. But I'm actually looking into starting to change my recording time to Thursday evenings. Thursday evenings, we're going to switch and record late. So that's why I'm drinking the coffee right now, man.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
But really, I haven't really ran into a whole lot of snafus. One thing that I thought happened around the holidays when I was doing some stuff on Christmas, I had a recording and I thought I lost it.
Oh,
I thought it got deleted, but there was just a little. And I've heard when that happens, it's like the biggest emotional letdown ever.
Yes.
But it was still there. I don't know what happened. It was like there, then it wasn't there, then it was there. But so we haven't lost anything yet. I'm looking into getting a little bit of new equipment. I tell you, an obstacle I have is, and this is something I'd like to just bring up to you is I'd like to get into more of a video podcast format. Perhaps I've done one episode. I've put it up. It's done okay, but I just, what I do is not podcasting is long form. It's very long form. The average length of a podcast is 40 minutes, but YouTube, the average length is about 10 to 11 minutes. And I know you do a lot longer.
Right.
But you've got all these cool things you do, all pulling in all this stuff, which is awesome. my style really doesn't do that. I would just be a talking head on YouTube, but I'm thinking about bringing video more to it, mainly because there's people out there that just love YouTube. It's the second most searched search engine out there, and I think we need to bring some ideas to it. So
Right.
those are a few little obstacles, I guess, that some things we're thinking about doing, changing, perhaps.
Right. Well, one of the things you could do with YouTube is our video podcasting. It would be a video podcast, which you would put a content photo up, which you could start with a photo of yourself, and then whatever you're going to speak on, you could put that up. You wouldn't have to sit in front of a camera and talk. You would still be talking, but you would be showing an image of what you're talking about. And it could change 2 or 3 images. You could still stay within the 20 minutes. So in that 20 minutes, you could change your background or your face of the video 2, 3, 4, 5 times, but the best thing about YouTube or video is you get in a cycle and you learn how to hashtag, and you learn there's certain words that certain types of people use that are in the genre of your your podcasting and your YouTubing. And so whenever somebody's watching something and then it gives them a suggestion, very well, it could be you pop up to them and they not have no clue who you are, but it's because of a genre word or a hashtag. So that's the big thing about doing that, and just using, I mean, you got 59 podcasts out there right now that you could throw a picture on, get it on YouTube, and you could immediately have a channel full of content that you'd be surprised at what you could do. And
Wow.
Yeah, that's just some ideas, and I would highly recommend you at least looking into that, because I think you would be very successful there.
Yeah. I don't know. The audio is just popped. We have such a pleasant audio experience, and if I did video, it probably would start out very short videos,
right.
Just clips of the full episodes, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm just sort of talking out loud.
Yeah. Well, you've already got content out there. You got good content. That's the key. You've already got good content. You've already got a following. So you've got 2 of the 3 hurdles. Yeah.
I love my audience.
Yeah, that's the
I love engaging with my audience. What's strange is whenever I get behind that microphone, I feel like, there's 700 people in the room.
Right.
There's 700 people like right there. I never feel alone. Even though I'm staring at a wall. When I do it, it's just me. I feel like 700 people are in that room. We've developed a really good connection and a really good trust with our audience, and it's just so nice to get feedback from people on how the podcast has changed their personal walk with God. Listeners dial in and say, I've never read the Bible in my life until I started listening to you. People read the Bible for the first time in 2020 because they were inspired, by things I had to say about it. A lot of guys who knew there was a girl in their church that was for them. She was the one, but had, didn't have the confidence, to go about it, was unsure about it. They got to praying and heard from God, and lo and behold, they're now in a healthy relationship.
Well, there you go.
And other guys and girls who were confused about their walk with God, some of our content has helped them see, yes, I'm called to do this. I'm called to be a minister. So it's just so fun, and that's done through audio. I tell you something that's interesting is whenever I made this podcast, I imagined just 18 to 25-year-old guys, that are just struggling, trying to live for God. And that's who I thought about, when I made these episodes. But it is just amazing how diverse my audience is.
Yeah.
Like, I was at a conference recently, and preachers' wives come up to me. like dignified preachers' wives come to me and they go, "Oh my goodness, Brother Gleason, oh my God, I love your podcast." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" They're like, "I love your podcast. What are you going to talk about this week?" It's because it's full of sarcasm. I'm very sarcastic, very bombastic, and it's got a lot of headbanging music in it, and a lot of times me just talking about guy stuff. But we've connected very well with our apostolic ladies, and that just thrills my heart that our message is touching young people, older people, men, women, pastors, saints, everybody.
Well, it's
I love it.
appropriate. It's appropriate stuff. It's not just stuff. It's appropriate stuff. So that's the key is your content is appropriate.
Appropriate.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Appropriate.
We'll put that out there. So now just give me a 1 minute vision for your podcast in the next year. What is your vision? You've already kind of talked about you're thinking about expanding to video, but tell me what you see happening to your podcast in a year. Give me about a minute worth of what you're thinking.
And Brother Danny, I don't have any number goals. I wish I did. I know that's what you're supposed to have with a vision and a number goal. I don't. My goal is not numbers. My goal is people. My goal is to bring the message of God, Bible, and church to the people and have it available for them on demand in a crisp, clean, great audio sound, full of very, biblical concepts that are so applicable to the average churchgoer and the average listener. And I just want to continue on a weekly basis, bring a digital copy of what God puts in my mind and in my heart for people to hear. And I just want them to break out in prayer when they listen to this. I want them to experience visions. I want them to experience dreams, to see miracles, wonders, and signs, with their own eyes. I want them to have encounters with the spirit world. I want people to be ready for the coming of the Lord. I want to inspire people to teach and preach the word of God. I don't think the Bible is boring. I think the Bible's exciting. I want people to be excited about their Bible. I want people to be excited about their church and excited about their walk with God. That's the vision I have. That's what we're bringing. And I can't wait for what God's going to do in the next 12 months.
Right. That's awesome. Well, myself as a listener, what I would like you to have is a let's say maybe a 12 part series of my heroes. So for a year, every month you would record one of your heroes. And I'm sure you could start right with your own father and just interview
like
him.
A guest.
Yes, interview him, talk with him.
Yes,
just reach into him, and so you do that for a year. You just bring one special guest on. I guarantee you would grow your audience just by doing that, because that's what people are looking for out there. They're looking for that type of nuggets, that word nugget. And it's amazing. What I found is when I'm out talking, especially with my elders, trying to glean from them and, get some good knowledge, man, if you could record that, get it out there, I think that would be a successful hit for you. Something to think about. This, and the key is
I like that. That's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up. Well, back to obstacles. Can I tell you this? Guests make me nervous.
Right.
So nervous. Because number one, you don't know about somebody's internet connection. And then, truth be told, Brother Danny, I am more comfortable in front of 1,000 people than I am in front of one person.
Right.
I don't know why that I've been that way ever since I was a kid. I get I don't like small settings. I like big. Yeah, we used to have small groups in church. I didn't like small groups. I like big groups.
Right.
That's just how I am. But I've had some phenomenal guests on the podcast
Yes, you have.
and great conversations. But yeah, I will. I'll think about what you just said there, and we'll see what we can do. I
Yeah.
have great connections with iconic preachers and
Right.
teachers of the Word of God, phenomenal pastors and evangelists, and
Yeah.
we'll see about that. My
Yeah.
heroes, the
Yeah,
heroes
my
series.
heroes, and then you could have one branch off to maybe missionary stories. And I mean, the stories that you and I grew up with at the dinner tables from our families when the missionaries would come and stay with us, remember those stories and those
Mm.
things from CP Thomas and
Oh, I got some.
yeah,
Oh
all of
yeah.
those stories
By the way,
could
he's got a phenomenal YouTube now. Brother
yeah,
Thomas has a
yeah.
YouTube now.
So you could imagine the stories that man could tell you, and I mean, he would blow you up, man. And some of our famous friends that you and I both know who we're talking about. I think that would grow your audience, and it would help. Outside of the podcasting world, just tell me what makes Justin Gleason tick.
Man, well, I love books. I love books, and there was a I don't know what it was about 2018, but something just snapped in me, and I started reading again. I really wasn't reading books. I would just read the Bible and read online news and blogs and things, but actual physical books. I started buying books again. Actually, I have a big stack of books that I just acquired for like 5 years and just never read. So we're starting to read again. So books really make me tick. I think the future of self-education is really books and podcasts. Really is. So I another thing that just makes me tick is just church. I love church. I love the operation and systems of church, and I love talking about church. I love going to other conferences and experiencing what other God is doing in other churches. I really do. Um, I really love Israel. I love the Holy Land so much. I love to study Israel, not only the prophecies in the scripture about him. And I was reading Hosea today, and I saw some new things that I've never seen before about what God intends to do for Israel. So I'm really into that. So those are three things that really make me tick. They make me tick.
Right. Well, our future for State of the Nation, and I've kind of talked to you about this, and I don't mean to spring it on you here in this interview, but I consider you our resident rabbi, and I say that tongue in cheek, but yet it's not tongue in cheek, because you do have an insight with the Rosh. And I'll let you explain what that is here in a moment. But I actually sent you a email today. I don't know if you've seen that or not, of some information. There's just a lot of stuff floating around out there that you got to be careful, and you can't trust. I mean, you can't trust everybody out there with some of the stuff that's happening. So whenever I run across something that I know it's not 100%, but yet it's got something to it. You know what I'm saying? That tweaks my interest, and so today it was something about Israel and some things that tweaked my interest that I sent to you.
Mm.
But we're going to in the future ask you on and have you talk about some of your series. Now I know you've talked about blood moons, you've talked about feast. You've introduced a lot of this to our local church body, and it's exciting. It's exciting stuff. So I think that's something that we can look forward to from State of the Nation. And I hope hope you'll think about that. Now, explain what I mean by the word between the word.
Well, it's a saying by the rabbis that the Bible is not just words. You gotta look into the gaps. They call it midrash. It's the gaps in the Word of God. For instance, when you read some ancient rabbinical writings, God says to Abraham, "Take your son, the son that you love." The midrash says that Abraham asked God, "Which one?" And God said, "The son you love." Not Ishmael, but Isaac is the son that he loved. So there's gaps, in between there in the words. So it's like the white space of the Bible, and it's just a way of making the scripture come more to life. The Bible is not exhaustive. It's not there is some intrinsic details on some things, but it's not exhaustive. For instance, when Jesus said, if you have faith, you can speak to a mountain and watch that mountain be cast into the sea. I've never seen anybody cast a mountain into the sea.
No,
I never have. But if you look in the white space of the Bible, in between the letters, the deeper part of that, and a little bit about the culture of the day, and you really, really think, why would they put a mountain into the sea? Well, think about this. Port cities that they had back then and that we have today. How do they make, big docks for merchant ships to come through? Well, they take dirt inland, a mountain, and they establish a city for people to come and go from. So what, and Jesus growing up in Nazareth, this would have been Herod Philip built a city only about 3 miles from Nazareth called Sepphoris, city of Sepphoris. It was a large, like Greco-Roman, like merchant city. This is where Jesus would have picked up, merchants of the earth came. And literally Herod had to move a mountain to build Sepphoris. He moved them out. And you know who they used? Little boys that they called tectons. It's Greek for our word carpenter. Jesus didn't work with wood. He worked with stone. And he probably would have been about 8, 9, 10 years old, and he moved a mountain for Herod. Jesus speaking to all the other Galilean men, they would have known exactly what he's talking about. Oh, he's talking about building a city. Well, the city is not of this world. It's heavenly. And our city is not built through, physically moving things. It's built through speaking. When there is something that needs to be built in the kingdom of God, it's all done through speaking. That's how we evangelize. That's how we make disciples. It is our voice. That's how I've made a difference in my life, in my ministry. It's been through my voice, speaking faith. So it's things like that in the Bible. That's really what nowadays separates the average preacher from somebody who's pretty extraordinary. It is being able to see the depths of the Word of God. Paul could do this. Paul saw depths, that no other apostle could see, in his writings. So that is midrash.
And that's exactly what I wanted to share with the people and let them understand.
Oh, now, Jesus is the sorry to cut you off there. Jesus is the midrash.
That's right.
He said, "I didn't come to destroy the law, but to fill it."
But to fulfill it, or
there's gaps in the law, and he did. He filled
all
Isaac walking up a mountain with wood. Jesus is that. He's walking up a hill with a wooden cross on him. They put him on that cross. Isaac was put on an altar, and all of a sudden a ram appears in the thicket. What's around Jesus' head? Thorns. Joshua marches 12 tribes up to the Jordan River, and the river parts. Jesus walks into the same river, but the river doesn't part. The sky opens up. Joshua then takes 12 tribes and conquers Israel. Jesus takes 12 disciples and conquers Israel for his kingdom. I mean,
Exactly.
He filled it. He became the gaps, the midrash. He did it. Yeah,
exactly. But that's exactly, this is what you've just done, is you've showed us what Brother Carr talked about, you having a word that a lot of people don't have and don't understand, where you've been able to, through your study and through listening to others, and then your own walk with God, you've been able to open up an understanding of the Word of God that a lot of men twice your age have no clue on. So, that's an important part, and that's why I tease you about being our rabbi, because you can say things and connect those dots that are important, and that's the to me, that's important. Well, I have one more question to talk to about, with you before we close. We're nearing the hour mark, and I try to keep us to an hour. It's been quick. I can't believe how quick this is. Seems like it went really fast. I don't know if it's been fast for you or not, but it has for me.
Yeah, it has actually.
So now I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone, and what I want you to give us about 3 minutes on, where do you see America in the next 5 years? And what I mean by that is, I want you just to tell me, in your opinion. Now we're talking about Justin C. Gleason's opinion about America. And I don't want you to be uncomfortable with what you're going to speak, but just tell us about it. Tell us about what you see.
Yeah. Well, that's the beautiful thing of citizen journalist. I can speak my opinion. What I'm about to say doesn't reflect the opinions of our church or
Right.
the United Pentecostal Church or anybody. This is, just me. And if you disagree with me, well, I disagree with you. If this offends you, good. Why don't you listen to it again and let it offend you some more, right? But in 5 years, I see America. It'll be Kamala Harris versus Trump, and Trump's going to beat her. Trump's going to be reelected.
Wow.
And Mike Pence is not going to be his VP. Absolutely not. So I don't know who his VP might be, but and then I also have my eyes on Eric Trump, Trump's son, not Don Jr. Don Jr. I don't think he's the future. I think Eric Trump is the future. He will be president of the United States someday. So the hand of God is on the Trump family. God has raised them up to be a force and a voice of good. I've had my eyes on Donald Trump ever since the birther issue with Obama. And I even knew in the 2016 election, Trump would be president. And I was heavily ridiculed by that and mocked in some cases, but was I right? So, but Trump's going to get reelected, and I think Kamala Harris is going to be cut off. I think a lot of the talks of socialism are going to collapse. I really do. I don't think the time of the end of America is yet. I do not. God is not done with our nation. So I see it springing back to something good. That's just my opinion. What I feel, what I see. I see maybe a few more pandemics arising. There's talks of more and more of them coming out. So you'll have still a little bit of the remnant of some of the restrictions that we have, but I think we're just going to have to learn to deal with it and cope with it, and just believe and hope for herd immunity. I continue to see still a major culture war here in the United States. We're still going to feel like we're in a fight. There's going to be no peace. You'll still feel unsafe. There'll still be a sense of danger around us, but I believe God's going to protect us. He's going to keep his hand upon us. So I have hopes for the politics of America. God uses this country to be a force of good, a force of benevolence. So I would like to see, I prayed it today and I could feel it, a surge again for American culture. I tend to lean more towards monoculture than I do multicultural. I like the idea of unification around borders, language, and culture. I believe in strong borders. I think we're going to get our strong borders back. That's coming. Everybody's just going to kind of see this open border policy as chaos. We've got to have order, and I think that's coming back. They'll see more of a push for legal immigration. English language is our spoken language. I see that still surging. Will require of people to learn it. And just American culture that was given to us, by our forefathers, found in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We love freedom. We love capitalism. We're a republic. So I see that coming back. We're gonna miss it. We're gonna miss it. We're gonna come back. So I believe there's a light that still remains in Washington. As far as the church goes, I have foreseen the next big wave of revival is not in the cities. It's in the suburbs and rural areas, especially the rural areas. That's where the next big pop is coming from. You're just going to see it. You'll be driving in these little towns throughout America and see massive oneness Pentecostal churches. God is just going to stir up rural revival once again. And it's going to be absolutely beautiful. Absolutely powerful, and of course the suburbs, but I just see the inner cities we're gonna have to shake the dust off our clothes and wipe the dust off our feet. The inner cities are a disaster. They're an absolute mess. So new things are going to be popping up all throughout the areas surrounding the cities of America. You'll start to see that, here soon, and really start to see it 5 years from now.
Wow. Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly on a lot of that. And I tell you what, we're going to have you back, because while we've been sitting here, my brain's been going 1,000 miles an hour, and I want to go, and I'll give everybody a teaser here. And here's what we're going to talk about. The next time we ask for you to be on, I know that God has given you some things that have come to pass. And God's given you, we'll call it the word of knowledge. How's that sound? And he's given you some prophecies. And
yes,
we're going to hold off on those right now and kind of tease it for a little bit. But if you would be willing to come back and at the right time and talk about some of those, I think our audience
absolutely
would enjoy that. And there's just some things that people need to hear that you and I have had, we've talked about, So, well, right now we're hitting that hour mark. So I'm going to go ahead and is there anything else you'd like to say to the audience before we close?
Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your love for this great nation. God raised up America for a great purpose, and America truly is beautiful. And I'm just so thankful that the hand of the Lord has not been taken off of us yet.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to end the recording here.